We're here to take you on a journey that started over 100 years ago. Join me as we view highlights in the musical legacy of Holdrege. Because Holdrege was located on the railroad line and situated halfway between New York City and Los Angeles, and halfway between Omaha and Denver, it was a perfect stop for any entertainment group that was traveling through. This was the main street of Holdrege in 1909 and currently is known as West Avenue. If you were living during this time, most of you would have traveled by horse and buggy, used kerosene lamps for light, had bathroom outhouses with cold running water from a hand pump. And since there wasn't even a radio at this time, the only outside entertainment that you would have known probably would have come from a traveling group that made a railroad stop in Holdrege.
Chautauqua Tent Entertainment, 1870s to 1920s. The Chautauqua groups originated in Chautauqua, New York, and they were performing groups that traveled across the United States. They provided all kinds of entertainment such as storytelling, dancing, singing, speakers, etc. It was the way that people outside of larger cities kept enlightened and informed. It always drew big crowds, especially in Holdrege, and was a source of excitement and socializing. Holdrege loved entertainment so much that it wasn't long before they decided to construct their own opera house. It began in 1889 and is located at the corner of West Avenue and Hayden Street, which we now know as 4th Avenue. It seated 800 people and was filled each night. Coaches were added to the train to accommodate performers and guests coming from quite a distance. Can't you see it now? Take a minute to look and see what is still on this corner in Holdrege today. And people have commented that there are still remnants of the opera house structures in the attic because it wrapped around both sides of that corner. It didn't take long for that opera house to get going because here you can see a show bill from 1910. Friday, September 23rd, A Pair of Pinks. And pretty girls, all fun, and for only 30 cents you can sit down and enjoy this on a reserved seat.
It wasn't long until the love of entertainment in Holdrege blossomed into a brand new playhouse. The playhouse operated in Holdrege during the late 1920s until the early 1940s. There was a swimming pool and a large building where dances and roller skating were provided. The skating rink was a popular location for church, school, and private skating parties and was open twice a week for public skating. Public dances were held, often with music provided by the Little Don Engstrom Orchestra. The complex was owned by Glenn Engstrom and included a greenhouse located north of his home at 1007 West Avenue in Holdrege.
During the early 1900s, Holdrege was also the center of excitement for many other venues. In fact, in 1916, there was a plan for a cattle barn to be built. Over $36,000 was raised, which was more than what they needed, so they decided to put a concrete floor in the building. This building seated 2,200 people and had a 75-foot stage. It was made available for more than just cattle sales. It became a stopping place for big-name entertainment between New York City and California. At this time, the city of Holdrege had a population of only 3,000, but because of all the excitement and building and people wanting to see Holdrege do well, it only took 7 months to raise the money and build a structure that we now call the Holdrege City Auditorium. It was dedicated in 1916 and is almost 100 years old. After the auditorium was finished in 1916, L.T. Johnson took a train to New York City to approach some booking agents to see what kind of entertainment could be drawn to our community. When he said he was from a town of 3,000, they started to throw him out until he showed the $2,000 in cash that he brought with him. After that time, the golden reign of talent began. And during the 30s, a group of promoters called the Sodbusters started bringing in big-name bands to brighten the Depression days. It worked and continued for decades. Only the best for Holdrege, they said. They built it, and people did come. Because of the New York City encounter and the ability of our community to pay the fees, The sodbusters would just say, "Sign us up," and then collect the money afterwards. We had a great reputation for good talent, good people, and good money. Plus, we were just a great place to stop for a concert on their way across the country. In order to raise money for the auditorium and concerts, shares of capital stock were sold. Here you can see a certificate in the name of Sam T. Schrock as owner of one share of capital stock of the Holdrege Auditorium Association.
Around 1919, an organ was installed in the City Auditorium to play during the silent movies to add dramatic effect to the showings. Here's a playbill from one of the showings of Charlie Chaplin. During some of the movies, there were live orchestras that played the background music. John Philip Sousa was known throughout the world as the March King. He was a composer and bandmaster. He was well known for his 136 marches, especially the ones he composed for our military, such as Stars and Stripes Forever and the Washington Post March. He was decorated by the King Edward VII of England, and in 1900 he was known as the most popular composer in the world. He served as bandmaster for the United States Marine Corps and the United States Navy. And just think, we had him here 4 different times. The amazing thing about Sousa's visits here is the fact that the first time he came, he refused to get off the train with his band. He didn't believe a town of this size could afford him. We had to get cash from the bank to give to him before he would even get off the train. Needless to say, he came back 3 more times. The word was out that Holdrege was the real deal. We could not only produce huge audiences, but we could produce the money to pay the artists. In March 1920, John McCormack, world-renowned Irish tenor, came because he wanted to see if it was true what people were saying about Holdrege. So he offered to come to Holdrege without a contract, just to check it out. Tickets made over $7,500. After that concert, all our promoters had to do was mention the name of Holdrege, and we could get anybody we wanted.
The City Auditorium was a home to many venues: auto shows, circuses, cattle sales, even airplanes were on display. It also hosted presentations by speakers such as President William Howard Taft, President Teddy Roosevelt, the Crown Prince of Sweden, William Jennings Bryan, Will Rogers, a nationally known humorist, and the list goes on. The most exciting part of the City Auditorium was bringing in big-time entertainment. And during the 1930s, there were often up to 6 well-known national orchestras that performed in Holdrege every year. That does not include even the regional and local bands who also provided dance music and entertainment. People such as Russ Morgan, Ben Burney and the Lads was a town favorite, and they performed here many times. The list goes on and on with the big bands that came through, because Holdrege not only loved to hear them, they loved to dance to them. Jimmy Dorsey, Ben Burney, Tony Pastor, Louis Tobin, and Harry James are in this photo just to show a few of the many big names that were attracted to Holdrege.
Imagine someone famous enough to be on a United States postage stamp that actually came to Holdrege. The following quote is from the 1936 Town Journal magazine. Leopold Stokowski and the Philadelphia Symphony Orchestra were planning a cross-country tour. America's biggest cities were playing host on the 13-concert trip, first of its kind for the famous orchestra. Sandwiched between New York, Chicago, and San Francisco on the concert schedule was Holdrege, Nebraska. It was no misprint. In fact, Leopold Stokowski's concert was considered the Sodbusters' greatest achievement. The entire town was at the train to welcome them. Hail and rain could not keep the performers or audience away. Umbrellas opened up over the orchestra and conductor because the roof leaked. Stokowski even went to the high school and directed the band. He and his band members borrowed bikes and enjoyed riding around town. Many people can still remember Stokowski's white hair and checkered shirt blowing in the breeze as he biked around Holdrege.
Lawrence Welk was a very familiar name in the entertainment world of the 1930s through the 1960s. He even came to Holdrege twice, 1937 and 1949. He took the time to write letters of appreciation because he felt Holdrege was a very genuine place to perform. During his performances and many other performances, it was not unusual to have the auditorium so full that there'd be 1,000 people dancing in the streets outside of the auditorium. During the same time period, many people would have recognized the names of Ozzie and Harriet because of their popular TV show. Actually, Ozzie and Harriet were also performers, and they performed in Holdrege, Nebraska in September of 1935, only 2 weeks before they were married.
Since my baby said goodbye.
Another famous name, Louis Sachimo Armstrong, performed in Holdrege in August of 1939 to a crowd of over 2,000 people.
In addition to the touring bands and entertainment that came to Holdrege, Holdrege had its own group of musical celebrities, the Junior Drum and Bugle Corps, that performed from about 1934 to around 1941. It was organized in 1934 by the high school music director Samuel W. Allstadt. 70 young men played with the Drum and Bugle Corps during its existence. In 1940, they were the Nebraska State Fair champions. They drove 9,450 miles that year by bus, car, train, and they were second place as the national champs in Boston. Holdrege was the smallest town represented at the contest. Here's a picture taken in 2010 with some of the former members. The image includes Bruce Hendrickson, Phil McClymont, Carol Dean Erickson, Harold Sandell, Charles E. Johnson. In the back row are some of the members of the Boston Brass who were performing at the Tassel on the 10th anniversary. The formation of the Holdrege Community Concert Association in 1948 assured the people of Phelps County that the tradition of outstanding entertainment would be continued. The Concert Association was affiliated with the New York-based national headquarters, which promoted the artists and assisted with the booking of the concerts. Most seasons consist of 4 to 8 concerts. Members of the association would even go to Carnegie Hall in New York City to select various groups in order to maintain the quality and variety that our community would enjoy and take pride in.
The Holdrege Community Concert Association brought such great talent to Holdrege, and that talent loved our wonderful hospitality. Many performers wanted to return. Some of them even returned twice. Here you can see 3 of our Community Concert Board members, Roberta Storms, Dodie Morris, and Jeannie Hathaway, with a famous bass baritone, Igor Gorin. The Concert Association also delighted in entertaining the artists in their personal homes. Many long-lasting relationships formed from these gatherings, and some of the artists even exchanged Christmas cards for many years after their performance here. In 1954, Lily Pons, the famous Metropolitan opera star, is seen here with Jeannie Hathaway, Clark Bradley, Roberta Storms, Helen McGill, and Delia Church. Lily and Jeannie became very good friends and even shared correspondence for years. It is told that a hearse took Lily from the Hotel Dale to the auditorium because her dress would not fit in the car. This picture is actually taken from an article in the Town Journal of September 1956. The title of the article was, "Could Your Hometown Buy Big-Time Entertainment?" The article read, "Holdrege, Nebraska, population 4,400, has heard the best musicians in America, from Lily Pons to Tommy Dorsey. It will invite anybody that's good enough." And that was the memo that went with most of Holdrege's entertainment. We wanted quality, and we had some of the best entertainment that the United States and the world could offer.
The Holdrege Concert Association not only brought quality programming to our community to entertain us, but also to inspire us. Clark Person, son of Sylvia and Kent Person, saw the American Boy Choir perform in 1989 and 1990 and was inspired to try out for their group. He came back in 1993 with the choir. Here's a program cover of the concert when Clark Person performed. He's in the second row, the second one from the left. The following slides are all program covers from various types of concerts following the variety of entertainment that the Community Concert Series brought to Phelps County. Guy Lombardo's Royal Canadians, Victor Borge, The Young Americans, Montavani and his orchestra, and Virgil Fox. There's a little story to go with this slide. Apparently, Perry Lumber had to bring their forklift to the City Auditorium to lift the organ onto the stage. The New York Theater Ballet, Arthur Fiedler and the Buffalo Philharmonic Orchestra.
In the late 1940s, the Holdrege Community Concert Association felt a need to have their own grand piano. So Jeannie Hathaway and Delia Brewster drove to Norton, Kansas to purchase a piano they heard was for sale. Its true history was not known until it was refurbished decades later. It turned out to be a custom-built piano for the renowned Spanish pianist Jose Iturbi. Today, this famous piano is still at home at the Tassel, and it is our prized possession. Just another story of how great things have happened in a small town of Holdrege.
During the late 1980s and 90s, the Holdrege Chamber of Commerce, under the direction of Tim Anderson, brought in a number of big-name popular performers. Here are just some of the performers who have appeared in Holdrege to sell out crowds of up to 5,000 people. Reba McEntire, Toby Keith, Alabama was here 3 different times, Ricky Van Sheldon, Lone Star, Tim McGraw, Chris Ledoux, Alan Jackson, Kenny Chesney, George Strait, Belinda Carlisle, and the list goes on. Our location was a perfect stop between Cheyenne, Wyoming's Frontier Days and events in Omaha or Kansas City. As we look through the history of entertainment in Holdrege, from the sodbusters and the shareholders of the City Auditorium, the trail is lined with people who are willing to take a risk of resources and effort to better the quality of life in Phelps County. But another challenge was on the horizon. How will this legacy continue into the next century? When a city bond issue failed to pass, a small group of citizens, led by Bruce Hendrickson, began a campaign to construct a performing arts center, later to be known as the Tassel. The Tassel opened in 1999 and is an outstanding reminder that wonderful things can happen when people work together. It is a dream come true, built solely by private donations. This world-class venue seats over 800 and is a multi-purpose facility for educational, community, and private uses on national, state, and local levels. The Tassel Coordination Council Incorporated, a volunteer organization along with their executive director, manages the Tassel in cooperation with the Holdrege Public Schools. The Joy of Music life-size bronze sculpture grouping by George Lundeen has recently been placed in the lobby of the Tassel as fitting representation of the history and heritage of music in Holdrege. This cherished collection was made possible by all of the Citizens for Bronze Art, whose vision is to acquire world-class bronze art from sculptors with roots in Holdrege. We invite and encourage you to become part of this amazing story. Contact the Tassel or the Phelps County Community Foundation to see how you can enjoy and support the efforts of continuing quality entertainment in Holdrege. Join us in leaving a musical legacy for future generations.